Thank you, candidates, for serving the community and public education and for participating in West Valley's 9th Annual Candidate Forum. Thank you also to the hundreds of students who wrote and submitted questions and to the student committee that picked these questions. To make this opportunity more widely available, we are posting this event on Facebook and YouTube. Please practice civil discourse in all comments. One of the district's core values is embodying respect for the diversity and dignity of all. Facebook comments that violate this core value will be deleted. Students, please follow proper etiquette audience behavior. Okay. Each candidate has 1 minute for an opening statement. After each student asks their question, each candidate will have 45 seconds to respond. The order of candidates responding will rotate. After the 3rd and 6th questions, we will have lightning rounds in which candidates respond by holding up a sign that says yes or no. We will now go to opening statements. The order of the opening statements will begin in the way that the official ballot reads. We will begin with CE candidate Tim Doran.
Good morning. This is actually the most exciting opportunity we have as candidates, so thank you for putting this on. Who am I? I'm a husband, a father of 2 West Valley graduates, a grandfather, an educator, a principal, and a community member. I've done a variety of things. I started out in banking, went into nonprofit administration, then as a late bloomer went into education, the most rewarding experience I've had. I'm running because I care about you, about our community, and I want our schools to be the best. I believe in you. I trust our educators. I absolutely enjoy partnering with parents and being a partner with so many community aspects, agencies. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And now, thank you. And now CE candidate Michael Humphrey.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Humphrey. I'm a husband and father of 6. The oldest is 11, so not quite high school yet. I'm a United States Marine. I graduated from Reichman University in Herzliya, Israel, with a degree in government and specialization in counterterrorism and international relations. And you may say, what's that have to do with all this? Well, my kids are my motivation. So seeing the way the school district is going, seeing test scores by national measures falling across the state, seeing the lack of prioritization on the education that's really going to help ease you into the workforce or college or whatever you choose to do next. But seeing that decline means that it's not going to be there for my kids when they're in your seat. So I'm doing this for them, but I think as I'm doing that for them, it's going to help everybody else along the way. Thank you.
Thank you. And now CF candidate Bobby Burgess.
Thank you, Bobby Burgess. And I just want to say thanks for putting on this event. It's a great questions that the kids wrote, and just really looking forward to it. So I was born and raised here in Fairbanks. I'm a proud product of our local schools, including this one. I graduated from West Valley, and so did my sister and my wife, and now I have a daughter and a stepson attending school here. I went on to UAF to get a bachelor's and a master's degree, and then I started a career in public service with the State of Alaska Contaminated Sites Program. I've done a lot of volunteer work here as a coach for Fairbanks Youth Soccer Association, Guys and Gals Read. I was served on the board and as a volunteer reader, and recently on the school board budget committee. I'm running because we need a school board that listens, respects students and educators, and puts students first. And if elected, I'll reach out to all facets of our community and seek common ground for the common good. As a former graduate, I guess there's one thing left to say, and that is, hey West Valley, how do you feel?
Thank you. Now it's CF candidate April Smith.
Thank you. I'm a current board member and I've served 3 years. I have 10 children, 3 graduates, 2 high schoolers, a middle schooler, 3 elementary schoolers, and a baby daughter who's 3. I want the best education possible for them, but they're not the reason I'm motivated to run for school board. I could homeschool them and not look back. What motivates me to run is that government, including schools, needs good people to make sure that policies, statutes, and laws are being followed and that new regulations and policies are in conformity with public sentiment and not with fad ideas and cult beliefs. I'm running for kids who do not have engaged parents, who need a watchdog to make sure they're getting what's due to them, which is a free, appropriate public education, free from sectarian and cult beliefs. Thank you.
Thank you. And now seat G candidate Maggie Matheson.
Thank you. My name is Maggie Matheson. I'm originally from Los Angeles, and the Air Force sent me up here. Kicking and screaming, I did not know that I was going to love it so much up here. My children are a product of the Fairbanks North Scarborough School District, and so is my husband. So this is very, very important to me to be able to support our educators, to be able to advocate and support our students. And I am just super tickled that you guys invited me to come and speak to you today.
Thank you. Now seat G candidate Meredith Maple.
Hi, my name is Meredith Maple. I'm the executive director of the Fairbanks Children's Museum, which I imagine many of you took field trips to at some point along the way. I am a parent to 2 kids in the district. One of them got an excused absence to come join me today here to see the high school she'll go to one day. I am running for school board because I believe that all of our students and all of our staff deserve to be seen and feel safe and be represented. There are other candidates up here with me today that have said and will say that those words are empty or that they don't matter. But to every single one of you that has felt unsafe or unseen or not represented at school, you know the weight of those words, and that is why I'm running.
Now we will go to questions from the students. Audience members, please hold your applause until candidates have answered the questions. The first question comes from Mason Cousin.
Hello, my name is Mason Cousineau. I'm a senior, and my question is, in 2019, California passed a law that allows high schools to start no earlier than 8:30 a.m. and middle schoolers to start no earlier than 8 a.m. And California has seen performance improvements since then. This year, the Anchorage School District moved to an 8:30 start time for high schools and 9:15 start time for middle schools. If you're elected, what solutions would you consider to increase student success by modernizing the current school schedule, such as changing start times, a 4-day week, or 0 periods?
Michael Humphrey, you have 45 seconds.
Thank you. I did some digging into this question just because I've seen this idea kicked around a lot. It looks like California passed this in 2019. It wasn't actually required to be implemented until 2022. Some school districts in California did that before then, but I couldn't find any evidence that their test scores increased. They didn't. I couldn't find any evidence that if there was increases, they were attributed to a later start time. So, later start times are probably not going to work with parent schedules. That's probably a no for me. 4-day work week also. Most parents are going to be working 5 days a week. Zero period seems like a fine idea for electives. That's going to be a choice that each individual student makes, but that seems like a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Dorn is next.
Interestingly, I voted for this change actually 4 years ago when it came before the school board. Okay, it did not pass. Okay? There are no studies that actually make a causative effect on academic performance, but it does have a benefit. We know there are some medical things. The big thing is in our community, when we looked at it last time, it was 50-50 among students, among parents. So it's a hard thing to really say, but I think all of our options need to be on the table. We have an opportunity now to rebuild and redesign schools. Bring the ideas forward. That's what I love about student input.
Thank you. Now April Smith.
Thank you. Like Mr. Dorn said, in the community surveys that the district did, high school students did choose the earlier times, but by a very narrow margin. As a matter of fact, when you broke down the data, most people chose whatever plan got their child to start school earlier. Someone has to start early and someone has to start late. I feel kids rise to the bar that we set for them, and if a particular student has a hard time with mornings, our district offers EFI with a late start time and e-learning and homeschool. I support a 4-day week and innovative modifications, but not just a blanket later start for high school.
Thank you. Bobby Burgess is next.
Thanks. So as a biologist, I'm aware of research that suggests that later start time would be more in tune with teenagers' natural circadian rhythms. And that's been around since I was in high school, if not earlier. So I would certainly be open to exploring options for later start times. It could help students get on that sleep cycle that's more natural for them, and improve attendance potentially, and help students be ready to learn, less likely to doze off. There are logistical challenges that would need to be addressed, such as transportation, timing for extracurricular activities like sports and clubs, and parent and educator schedules. But with that said, I'm optimistic that our students, parents, and educators and administration can come together and see what adjustments can be made to better serve our students.
Thank you. Now Meredith Maple.
I'm going to sound like a broken record coming right after Bobby, but having looked at the same, being aware of the same information about older students having more success when they're able to sleep longer and wake up later, and also having elementary students in my house that wake up at the crack of dawn, I am very open to this idea. I won't pretend to understand all of the data that the current board evaluated when they made our current schedule. I know that they did the best they could with the information available, but as we all know, there's always room for improvement, and listening to the community is where we have to start.
Thank you. Now Maggie Matheson is next.
Thank you. I actually voted for the earlier time, and I voted for the earlier time because knowing what our high schoolers go through, especially at the end of the day, some of our high schoolers need to provide for their household. They need to have a job. Some of us have co-curricular activities. If we start later, then we won't have enough time for our co-curricular activities. And that's why I chose for the earlier start time.
Thank you. The next question, oh, go ahead. The next question is from Shirley Hornbuckle.
Hello, my name is Shirley Hornbuckle. I am a senior. My question is, according to a 2014 poll by Planned Parenthood, 93% of middle school parents and 96% of high school parents support having sex education taught in school, including topics on STDs, healthy relationships, birth control, and sexual orientation. Comprehensive sex education is also supported by the American Medical Association, the American Academy and Pediatrics. In June, our school board voted to purchase new health textbooks, but voted down the sexual education supplement. How would you, or how did you, or how would you vote on the sexual education supplement, and why?
Bobby Burgess, you have 45 seconds.
Thank you. I would vote to add the supplement back to our materials that are available for health educators. I reviewed the materials myself, and I found them to be reasonable and factual. And I think that students have a right to accurate, complete, and comprehensive materials in any subject that they learn. In a state with one of the highest rates of domestic abuse, sexual assault, and STDs, comprehensive sex ed is a critical component of student safety. And I want to reiterate that those who voted to remove these materials, including my opponent, Mrs. Smith, justified their vote by suggesting that the information on sexual orientation and gender identity was controversial. In making this decision, information about healthy relationships, contraceptives, and consent was also lost. And I just want to say to any LGBTQ students listening, I want to make it clear your identities are not controversial.
Thank you. April Smith, you're next.
Thank you so much. I voted to approve comprehensive health books for secondary students in the spring. Every aspect of board-approved curriculum was covered by the respectable and modern books. The adopted materials completely cover the standards, just to be completely clear. Every student will learn what they need to learn to meet the community and board-adopted curriculum standards. Even the publishers of these supplements knew that they were controversial, and that's why they were published in a separate book.
Thank you. Now Maggie Matheson.
I have to go right behind Mrs. Smith, and I 100% agree with what she just said. We did meet our standards, our policy standards, and our curriculum standards with the book. The supplement, of course, it was controversial, and that's why it was a supplement. And with the budgetary constraints that we have, there was no room, no wiggle room to purchase an additional supplement that was controversial. Thank you.
Thank you. Now Meredith Maple is next.
I would absolutely vote to include a fully comprehensive sex education for all of our students. I was privileged to receive that in school, and I hope that my daughter will as well. I believe that in deciding not to include a supplement that discusses the reality of the world we live in, the board undermined the fact that queer kids exist. And I'm one of you. I was a queer kid. I'm a queer adult. And seeing that happen is hurtful and it's shameful.
Reminder that we do not clap until all candidates have shared. Now Tim Doran is next.
Okay. I voted to adopt the health supplemental. It was a wonderful resource. It was comprehensive, it was factual, it was developmentally appropriate. I read every word, every graphic of the middle school and high school. It was good material, and I should note that it was primarily geared toward, it was being purchased at a small amount, approximately $5,000, as a teacher resource, although it was a great student resource as well. And I'll end with saying something being controversial does not equate to good education.
Thank you. Michael Humphrey is next.
Thank you. I too would have voted to not approve the supplemental. As Ms. Smith said, there is a reason it was a supplemental. There's a lot of straw men up here on what the word comprehensive means and why can't we have all of the information. But the fact remains that it was separate from the book that satisfied all of our curriculum requirements. And that's all there is to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is going to come from Mia Royce.
Hi, my name is Mia Royce. I'm a sophomore. My question is, according to the National Youth Tobacco Survey, 1 in 10 teens in America have used e-cigarettes in the last 30 days. That's more than 2.5 million students. The uses of e-cigarettes have been known to cause popcorn lung, increase the risk of asthma, and lung and heart cancer, along with a myriad of other irreversible diseases. If elected, what actions would you take to educate students on these effects, as well as help those who continue to overcome a possible addiction rather than just being punished?
April Smith, you have 45 seconds.
Thank you. Well, I would support a resolution condemning vaping and encouraging vape danger education in the classroom. There's really nothing else that's within the board's purview to do about vaping. My son is a Marine. He vapes. I wish he didn't. And I did everything that parents should do to educate their kids about the dangers of vape. And the school does a really good job of putting anti-vape information in every bathroom and all over the school. And I would just be glad to resolve to increase that campaign.
Thank you. Bobby Burgess is next.
Thank you. One of my top priorities is student safety and health. And I think that information on the dangers of vaping should be taught starting in elementary school alongside risks of alcohol and drugs. There's a lot of misinformation on vaping that makes it easy to underestimate its harm and addictiveness. And I would support efforts in the school district to fight this misinformation and ensure that facts are getting to our kids before they start vaping. In terms of consequences for students who are already vaping, I would like to work with our administration and other board members to ensure that policies are compassionate, consequences reasonable, and to explore the possibility of addiction treatment or intervention programs when it would be appropriate and effective. Thanks.
Thank you. Now Meredith Maple.
I think that one of the biggest pieces here is talking about the consequences, education versus consequences. And I think a good place to start is empowering our social services and our counselors, to empowering them to address addiction. We know that consequences for somebody partaking in something they're addicted to are typically just adding to a shame spiral. I would like to see our administration empowered to help, like Bobby said, to intervene and actually help with addiction services rather than just punish for somebody already suffering from an addiction.
Thank you. Maggie Matheson is next.
Thank you. I don't believe in punishing addiction, and knowing that tobacco and e-cigarettes are highly addictive, I would definitely support guardrails through policy and education so that students have support to quit or to choose a healthier lifestyle.
Thank you. Now Michael Humphrey.
Sure. What can the school district do? Education materials on alternatives, on vaping. If you are vaping, it's bad for you and it looks stupid, so quit doing it. Other than that, that's what the school board's here for. If there's some kind of addiction counseling, the school district is not going to step into this medical provider role, I don't think, and do these types of things. But providing the education and the alternatives. But if you know this and you make a conscious decision to vape every time in a place you're not supposed to, then you should face the consequences of those actions. And that's true for anything in life that you may make the conscious decision to do.
Thank you. Tim Dorn is next.
Okay, and I want to clarify my last statement. I meant to say avoiding controversy does not equal good education. And this is about good education. We need comprehensive factual information. You deserve to have all the information upon which to make decisions and choices in your lives. I also look at this in terms of discipline is a way of conducting ourselves. It is not a negative. But sometimes because of our actions, there may be consequences, but they go hand in hand in partnership with problem solving. And I have worked with administrators, fellow principals over the years, and have known the conversations they have had to say, how do we help you rather than just punish or have a consequence? Where do we go from here? Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will go to our first lightning round. Candidates will indicate if they agree by holding up the yes paddle or disagree by using the no paddle. We will begin the lightning round now.
Hello, my name is Charlie Sunborg and I'm a freshman. Do you support having boys volleyball in our high schools?
Hello, my name is Grace Jolly and I'm a sophomore. Would you consider having at least one staff member who is qualified to concealed carry on school grounds during the school day?
Hello, my name is Laylee Shea Simpson. I am also a sophomore. In the current budget situation, do you support allocating more money for school sports so students don't have to worry about their economic status to participate?
Hello, my name is Abigail Buttersworth. An article by youth.gov states school-based programs that address gender identity, reduce bullying and harassment directed toward LGBTQ+ students. Based on this, do you support implementing more education on LGBTQ and other minority groups to help eliminate harassment, bullying, and other problematic behaviors?
Hello, my name is Benjamin Lassay III. Are you in favor of funding mental health awareness training and events for students?
Thank you. And that concludes our first lightning round segment. Our next question will be read by Renee Peterson.
Hi, my name is Renee Peterson. I'm a senior this year, and my question is, National History Day is a competition for middle and high school students who spend months preparing projects to compete at the regional, state, and national levels. In the past, students have received some financial assistance for these trips from our school, but in recent years, students are paying for the entirety of the trip, putting strain on families. My project about Horace Mann and the public education system earned first place in the state and was eligible to compete at the national level, but I could not attend. If elected to the school board, how would you support students who compete in co-curricular programs?
Maggie Matheson, you have 45 seconds.
Thank you. I am not rich by any means, and my children and their friends all participate in co-curricular activities. I will continue advocating for more funding through the state, through our borough, and seek grant funding for whatever doesn't get met. I also will continue fundraising for all co-curricular activities, and I 100% support our after-school programs, our co-curricular activities, and our sports.
Thank you. Meredith Maple is next.
Congratulations, Renee, and I'm really sorry that you weren't able to attend that. I work in a nonprofit, and the work of nonprofits is filling gaps. That's what the various nonprofits in our community do. We fill gaps. And this seems like an opportunity for our district to collaborate with agencies in our community. There are lots of youth-centered nonprofits in our community that I think could fit the bill, and our district has a wonderful proven record of collaboration with other agencies in our community. So I see this as a big issue, and I also see a lot of potential for finding solutions.
Thank you. Tim Doran is next.
I'm really glad that you used the term co-curricular, because indeed it is co-curricular or intercurricular. It's not extra. We have a commitment to help educate the whole person, and that's what this represents. I think our first obligation is to start at the very beginning, to make sure that every student has an opportunity to participate in some sort of co-curricular activities. We have to thank our educators who step up as sponsors or their supports. I think if we can do the local and then the state, to get to national, it's more than money, it's also time for parents who can go. But we need an investment in public education for the whole education of a child.
Thank you. Michael Humphrey is next.
Yeah, there's certainly a gap here. I believe this gap is more accurately going to be filled with fundraising. So how can the school board help? We can provide frameworks, contacts, methods for fundraising, but the school district paying for these kinds of things probably is not in the budget. I grew up relatively poor as well, maybe you might say lower middle class. If there was $5 needed for a field trip, which that's usually what we needed, I didn't always get that, and I didn't always get to go on field trips, but I did a lot of co-curricular activities, and every single time we were fundraising, we were selling something, we were doing odd jobs, and this is something the school district supported us in. So I know it works, I've done it before, and that's probably where this money comes from. Thank you.
Thank you. Bobby Burgess is next.
Thanks, and congratulations, Renee, and sorry that you didn't get to make it to Nationals. And it's not just National History Day, right? There's all sorts of travel opportunities for students, sports, music, concerts, academic decathlon, science fairs, the list goes on, right? And I believe that all students deserve the chance to attend these contests and conferences and events that will help build their academic resumes and help them to seek other opportunities like scholarships. I would look at grants, community partnerships, and opportunities to allocate funding towards something like a scholarship fund for students whose families cannot afford to travel. A big part of this is advocating for more funding from the district, and I would leverage my negotiation skills to work with legislators and borough assembly members to increase funding for the district. Thanks.
Thank you. April Smith is next.
Thank you. At some point in the last 3 years, I'm not going to say this year, maybe the year before, there was a budget that cut student activity funds by 20%, and I advocated for the return to the prior level of funding, and the board did do that. Next, I advocated hard for funding activities coordinators at each of the large schools, but I also lost that vote. The activities coordinators should be focused on more than just sports. They should be focused on all the activities that take place in the school. And rather than seeing closed doors and walking away, we should open the door by asking for help when needed.
Thank you. The next question is going to come from Lizzie Berry.
Hello. It's on. Okay. Hello, my name is Lizzie Berry and I am a senior. My question is, according to the Alaska Children's Justice Act Task Force, 1 in every 7 children in Alaska will experience an allegation of sexual abuse before the age of 12. While in high school, I have seen victims of assault have to change their class schedules and move to different schools while their perpetrators got warnings and suspensions. This makes students who have been sexually abused feel ignored, not taken seriously. As a school board member, how will you ensure school administrations deal properly with student perpetrators?
Meredith Maple, you have 45 seconds.
I believe this starts with trauma-informed training for administrators. One of the most important things that you brought to light in your question, Lizzie, is that a victim having to change classes or change schedule, that's not trauma-informed practice. I am on the board of the domestic violence shelter here in town. We have experts there at IAC that we could lean on for help in these things. It's the work I do that I wish most didn't have to be done. We also have a Title IX office at the district, and so we do have somebody employed by the district that could be leaned on for appropriate training for admin and for counselors, for making sure that we're treating victims with respect and protecting them.
Thank you. Maggie Matheson is next.
Thank you. So our work on policies is not done. My hope is to continue to work on the policies that we have started, set up guardrails for our educators on how to handle situations like this.
Thank you. Now Michael Humphrey.
Thank you. I must admit I'm a bit confused by the question. When I read it, there's some serious crimes alleged here. We've got assault, sexual abuse. I mean, these are places for the police, but then it says the punishment is warnings and suspensions. I mean, the police should be involved. Temporary restraining orders should be issued. Surely, we're not asking the school district to try people without some kind of evidence base and then punish them afterwards. So if we're talking about real crimes, police need to get involved. There should be a policy that there's no interaction if that person is readmitted to school afterwards. But these sound like real criminal law and order matters, and they need to be taken seriously.
Thank you. Tim Doran is next.
Unfortunately, I have dealt with these situations, fortunately, rarely, but indeed in real life as a principal. It is a difficult thing. You need to support the victim, the target. You need to make sure appropriate consequences are there for the perpetrator, and you work with the families. I think what we can do as a board is to make sure we have the proper policies and procedures to be followed, and that our administrators are reassured, our principals are reassured that they will have our support. That becomes the important factor, so that they are well trained and they're supported.
Thank you. Now April Smith.
Thank you. In the last 3 years on the board, I've heard the worst of the worst discipline issues when they come to the board for readmit or appeal. I'm astonished by some of the things we see. I often hesitate on readmits. We do require many steps for the most serious offenders, threat assessments, drug and alcohol assessments, counselors, and more, but I do wish we heard more from the victims about how they feel about readmits. We hear from the offenders and everyone else, but not the victim. I would support victim statements and consideration of those when the board considers readmitting, and I would also support, but not sure if the least restrictive environment clause would allow it, not allowing particularly violent or sexual offenders to go to the same school as the victim, and not just for sexual offenses, but for violent assault and significant bullying.
Thank you. Bobby Burgess is next.
Thank you for this question, Lizzie. It's incredibly important and brave to discuss sexual assault. I believe survivors. I find it unconscionable that student victims of assault should have to have their lives further upended in order to avoid contact with their abusers and perpetrators of assault, and that perpetrators would suffer lesser consequences. This is an issue that could potentially be dealt with by revising or creating disciplinary policies that center compassion for victims and put their needs and best interests first. And it's something I want to learn more about, but I want you to know I stand with survivors. It's also a good reason for comprehensive sex education materials that covers sexual assault and consent and healthy relationships. Thanks.
The next question comes from Jesse Bennett, read by Ada Decker.
Hi, my name's Ada Decker, and I'm a sophomore. So according to Brown University, U.S. schools currently employ at least 163,650 underqualified educators and teachers working without state certification or outside of their subject area. This means that students may not be getting the education that they deserve. If elected, what are your ideas for supporting our underqualified teachers and getting more qualified teachers so that we can get a better education?
Tim Doran, you have 45 seconds.
Education is one of the most rewarding and most challenging careers or vocations. I've actually dealt with this as a principal. I deal with it looking as a board member. We have a shortage of educators. We need to change the narrative to make sure people feel comfortable that they are indeed joining a very noble profession. That's part of it. We also means when we get people in the classroom, that they have an opportunity for support. I will say that one of the best comments, and one that humbled me and blew me out of the water, if you want, was when a teacher came to me as they were about to retire, and they said, "Thank you for making me a better teacher now than I was 23 years earlier when I had become principal there."
Thank you. Michael Humphrey is next.
Thanks. Well, how do we keep the best teachers? And I think most teachers that I've talked to said that pay is not keeping up with the cost of living. It's not competitive with other places given the high cost of living in Alaska. So, and that's going to be a question here in a second, but teacher pay is important. It's not why teachers do what they do, but it definitely helps retain the best teachers. Congrats to all the teachers that further their education, they have the right certificates and so on. However, if you don't, it doesn't mean you're a bad teacher. Teachers should be judged by the success of their students, by the outcomes in the classrooms, and not by pieces of paper that they hold. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Bobby Burgess.
Thank you. The best way to recruit and retain qualified and quality educators is to offer salaries and benefits that are nationally competitive. That includes teachers and support staff. I want to emphasize that. They're all essential personnel in our schools. And to pay educators better, we need more funding. We need to be honest about our needs and ask for the Borough Assembly to fully fund education every time. This is something that my opponent voted against when the funding resolution was on the table this spring. I would also support initiatives to provide training and education for underqualified educators and would explore options like grant funding, mentorship programs, and partnerships with community organizations to help fund or support these efforts. Thanks.
Thank you. April Smith is next.
Thank you. I support state process reform that makes transferring licenses to our state easier. I also support an outreach that lets military spouse educators know their requirements before they PCS in so they can begin the classes and tests required online while they wait for their moves. As for undercertified educators, I would encourage streamlined summer programs that offer support for educators who know they may be in a position that is not in their cert area in the upcoming year. Even if they cannot attain the certification over the summer, the district could offer a training camp type class to get, say, a social studies teacher up to speed with the math or science they might need to enter into to gain employment in the year that's coming ahead.
Thank you. Now, Maggie Matheson.
Thank you. I think our human resources does a phenomenal job at explaining what is necessary to be a teacher for our school district. I've asked them plenty of questions that they've answered beautifully. And I do support our district in the many ways that they support our educators, either receiving proper certificates, credentialing, and even their continuing education.
Thank you. Meredith Maple is next.
I really appreciate what everybody else has said about mentor programs, about reimbursement for tuition for teachers to continue their education. And I think a very large other piece to this is showing our educators that we respect them. Your teachers recently went, and support staff recently went 20 months without a contract, which that's knowing what what you can expect at your job, knowing what benefits you can expect, knowing that you have job security. And that's pretty bad. 20 months was really bad. And we had Dr. Minot, our new superintendent, come in, and he made really quick work of repairing that and getting a contract put in place. And now we have more work to do. And that includes affordable health care for our staff. It also includes adequate retirement.
Thank you. And now we will go to our second lightning round. Candidates will indicate if they agree by holding up the yes paddle or disagree by using the no paddle. We will begin the lightning round now.
Hello, my name is Evander Wilcock, and I'm a senior. And do you think that personal beliefs and interests should influence representatives' decisions made while voting on the school board, which affects thousands of students of varying races, religions, ethnicities, and sexual orientations?
Hello, my name is Gretchen Whitgriff. I'm a freshman. Do you think that the school district should be required to fund teachers to teach Alaska Native languages?
Hello, my name is Ayla Arnott. I'm a freshman. Do you support the Alaska State School Board's ban on trans girls competing in girls' sports in Alaska?
Hello, my name is Aurora Olivar Gumiel. I'm an exchange student from Spain. As of August 7th, 2023, the average salary for public school teachers in Alaska is $62,281. Do you think teachers should be paid more?
Hi, my name is Ani Russell. I'm a senior.
Public schools and their students in the United States produce over 14,500 tons of waste every day, mostly consisting of plastic utensils, cups, straws, and bags. Do you think efforts should be made in schools to combat pollution?
Thank you. And that concludes our final lightning round.
The next question comes from Brittany Van Vrick.
Hi, my name is Brittany. I am a senior, and this is my question. Many teachers are overwhelmed and burnt out, especially after COVID-19. According to the Wall Street Journal, around 300,000 public school educators left the profession between February 2020 and May 2022, nearly a 3% drop in that workforce. According to Forbes, in 2022, 73% of teachers and 85% of principals say they are experiencing frequent job-related stress, as opposed to 35% of adults in other occupations. Our teachers are the backbone of our schools, and they do incredible work making students feel comfortable in their classrooms. If elected, how would you prioritize teacher mental health issues?
Michael Humphrey, you have 45 seconds.
Yeah, thanks for the question. There's just working in business myself, there's a lot of things that can improve mental health that work for teachers as well. Giving them the ability to take vacation or time off when they need it is one. For teachers specifically, reducing class sizes would go a long ways towards easing the burdens they have throughout the day. I've advocated a lot for more parental involvement in the schools. And also for mandating that teachers focus on core subjects. I think this would take a lot off their mind and allow them to do the job that they're here for. I also think that these teachers are with our students all day long. We should have comprehensive mental health screening as they're hired as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Doran is next.
We need to listen to our educators. We need to trust their professionalism. And we need to watch what we put on their plates. As importantly, what I like about this question is it's a very positive viewpoint from a student. You have an impact on the mental health of your teachers. We have as a community. It disturbs me when we have misinformation spread on what is or what is not taught. Those are stresses on teachers. But if we really believe in them, trust with them, support them, listen to them, that will help with that stress and mental health.
Thank you. Now, April Smith.
Thank you. I will work hard to make sure we're using every resource to become fully staffed so that educators feel able to take the sick leave and vacation time that they have earned. Next, I would hire a superintendent who's innovative, empowering, and dynamic to guide and form our educators into leaders that support and inspire each other, which we have done with Dr. Miner. And I also would work on the perception issue. When I tell people that my daughter is going to school to become a teacher, they ask why. I want to change the way that people feel about public education and teachers, and that will go a long way to helping them feel good about themselves.
Thank you. Bobby Burgess is next.
Thanks. I really appreciate this question. Thanks for bringing it forward. Burnout and stressors on teachers, that's been going on since before COVID, although the pandemic definitely did increase the stressors and the burdens that we are putting on our teachers in order to keep our schools running. It's important to listen to educators and treat them with respect rather than argue with them or discount their public testimony, as my opponent has done. There has been a pattern of expecting our educators to do more with fewer resources, less support and less compensation, all while increasing class sizes and burdening them with more tasks. It's important that we pay them what they need to live so that they don't have to get second jobs, like 80% of our support staff do. I just want to remind everyone that the work environment is the students' learning environment. Thanks.
Thank you. Now, Meredith Maple.
To echo what everybody has been saying, this starts with listening to educators. My last answer was talking about showing educators respect in a lot of ways, including fair contracts that are met in a timely manner and access to healthcare, affordable healthcare and retirement, so that they have those securities at work. In listening to teachers, one of the things that I have heard is more paid prep time. When we have educators coming to us and saying, I need this thing, we have a really easy opportunity to meet them where they are.
Thank you. Maggie Matheson is next.
Thank you. Of course, seeking more funding for greater pay, defined benefits is great in supporting our educators, but we also need policies in getting educators proper support. We need to seek funding in order to maintain a low PTR, and we need more parental involvement.
Thank you. The next question comes from Selena Martinez, read by Mika Grubis.
Hi, I'm Mika Grubis, and I'm reading a question for Selena Martinez. So many places around the world have higher quality school lunches than our district, which are highly processed and don't provide the necessary nutritional value. Schools that offer scratch cooking enjoy higher student performance, moral, and achievement. There are many methods to incorporate scratch cooking into schools with grants and initiatives. Presently, the district dining services make locally made salads that are in such high demand they are often sold out. How will you, as a school board member, prioritize the move away from processed food and towards more quality from scratch food? Thank you.
Bobby Burgess, you have 45 seconds.
Thank you. I'll talk fast. Nutrition and food security are important to student success. I've heard lots of students and educators discuss this issue over the course of my campaign, and I would agree that we need better food in our schools. My sister and her husband own a farm here in Fairbanks, and a few years ago they tried to work out a contract with the district to provide them with locally grown vegetables, and staffing shortages prevented that deal from going through because of the need to process that food. So a lack of funding for staff is a barrier to nutrition for students. I would support partnerships with local farms, restaurants, volunteers, and community organizations, and we could also look into offering credits to students who participate in activities like farming, hunting, or wild harvest to help with food security in general in the borough. We also have culinary programs that we could potentially integrate.
Thank you. April Smith is next.
Thank you. The answer I wrote to this is just so long because it's so interesting and important to me. The federal nutrition services laws are very strict and highly regulated, and they're actually required to meet the necessary nutritional value. So our nutrition services is extremely understaffed, and I just want everyone to know that they actually do meet the nutritional standards, but not with the best, in the best way. I pack lunch for all 7 of my students every day, even when lunches were free. So I fully support integrating by any means possible foods made from scratch, fresh, and locally sourced. I don't know how we're going to do that. We actually have funded our nutrition services, but have no applicants, so apply.
Thank you. Now Maggie Matheson.
I've actually been working on this for the past 3 years while I've been on the board, and our school district already started growing their own foods in one of the homeschool programs. Our goal is to have that in every single high school, have a grow tower for every single high school, make it a class where you're learning horticulture and agriculture. And then, of course, we would involve our culinary arts. And if it's successful with our high school, we can definitely bring it into our middle schools and into our elementary schools. It's super important, and I'm tickled that our district is already moving in that direction.
Thank you. Meredith Maple is next.
The grant that Ms. Smith referenced is actually the same grant that the Women's Shelter receives. I'm very familiar with how hard it is to stay within those parameters, to meet those, to meet the guidelines that are set. Ms. Smith is right about that. I do have personal experience now working with that board and working with the advocates and the staff at the shelter to figure out how to supplement it, because the same thing was happening there. The food was not adequate. We had people leave shelter because the food was so bad. That's appalling. And so there are steps we can take. There's work that we can do. This actually isn't the answer that I thought I was going to give, but I also, I have a lot of concerns about the current setup with food being processed in one place and distributed throughout the district, but I'm eager to look at how we landed here and figure out how to improve.
Thank you. Tim Doron is next.
I've had the opportunity to work with schools and in schools where everything was made from scratch. It was my position as a principal that if it was anything new, I had to taste it first before the students. Okay, mainly I was hungry, and I love to eat. But I've also been in a school that did TV dinners. That was it for lunch. But when I came to this district, I've seen the effort to bring more things like salads, like fresh fruits, to take advantage of grants that help to support that. It is challenging, but our nutrition director really is focused on trying to do that as best they can for thousands of eaters. And so I think it is a challenge, but we need to do better.
Thank you. Michael Humphrey is next.
Thanks. I'll try to talk quickly here. I believe I found the study this question was referencing, and it's a little vague on how they determined scratch food was somehow better. Basically, what it shows is that foods higher on the healthy eating index caused a barely statistically significant increase in testing scores. And also, all food, unless it's a whole food, is processed in some level. So really, I think what the question is why does our food suck? You know, what can we do to make it taste better? Well, it's easy. If you want new food, students should be able to taste test and vote on what food tastes best. It's going to meet the federal criteria. If it's going to be served in schools, students are the ones that have to eat it, so they should vote on if it's the food they're going to eat or not. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. It is now time for closing statements. You'll have 45 seconds, and it will go in the same order as opening statements, but in reverse. So Meredith Maple, you will start.
Thank you for all of these questions. I have been a little surprised at hearing some of them be attacked. I'm really grateful for the research that you all did to put these together and the time you put in and that you're here presenting them to us. It's a wonderful opportunity for all of us. I care deeply about our schools. I care deeply about every single one of you. I hope that those of you who are old enough to vote and those of you that have family members that vote, that you leave today and you really think about everything you heard every person up here say, and you come up with what makes the most sense for you, for your family, and you really dig into what matters. I hope that means you might vote for me or your family might, but you have to really evaluate everything you've heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Maggie Matheson is next.
I just wanted to thank you for putting this forum together, for putting the questions together, and for eloquently speaking and asking us these questions. I want to thank Mrs. DeMario and Mrs. Galloway for putting this together and helping our students ask good questions and learn about their civic duties. Thank you.
Thank you. April Smith is next.
Thank you. I also appreciate the opportunity to speak to students and the community through this forum. I have to say that these are the best questions that we've had of any of the forums. So far, it's not even a comparison with the other forums. They're so relevant and so appropriate to our office that we're asking to hold. I have 3 years worth of voting record. If you don't already know me, you should go back and take a look. And if you'd like me to continue doing my work that I intend on keeping moving forward on, then you can vote for me in the future.
Thank you. Bobby Burgess is next.
Thanks. I just want to say I'm proud of this district and the work that our educators do here, and especially our civics educators for putting this on. I really appreciate the ongoing civics education that we have in our schools here. I just want to reiterate that our school board needs leadership that will listen to educators and the public and to students, consider the impact that decisions will have on all of our district students, and ensure that they are well informed on issues before they vote. We need to advocate for policy, curriculum, and materials that are based on fact, are comprehensive, and keep students safe and seen and represented. Sorry. If I'm elected to the board, I will serve with integrity and compassion. I will reach out to the community to make sure that I understand what they need and seek common ground for the common good. Tell your siblings and parents to vote for me.
Thank you. Michael Humphrey is next.
Yeah, thanks to everyone for your time. Thank you for the questions. Some of the premises I maybe addressed before addressing the question, but I want you to know that not everybody up here gave you a straight answer on every question, and that's how I respected your time, was to give you an answer that was an actual answer, not just fluff, not just like to have, not just big ideas. That's what I'm going to do on the school board, and as I've already told you, I'm going to be doing it for the right reasons. So thank you.
Thank you. Tim Doran is next.
Okay, I'm going to address one of the questions we didn't get to, and it states the most important voice in the conversation is the students. I want to reassure you that our student rep, Rua Lopez, on our board is an extremely important voice. I want to reassure you that the student voice on the State Board of Education, Felix Myers, is a very important voice. You're going to be hosting the state student government here shortly. You have a voice. I want to reassure you that the student voice out of Matsu, the student, I know his first name is Ben, I'm not sure his last name, who is moved from the dais, is an important voice. When you provide testimony,
Thank you.
when you send
Thanks, Tim.
information to us, that is an important voice.
Thank you. And that concludes our candidate forum. And while it is too late to register to vote in this year's election, voting in next year's election is just as important. If you are already 18 or within 90 days of turning 18, the League of Women Voters has a table in the PAC lobby to help you with your voter registration. If you are 18 years or older, get out and vote on October 3rd. At West Valley, we will be participating in our own kids voting on Election Day. Thank you to the students, staff, and parents at West Valley for supporting the 9th Annual West Valley Candidate Forum. And again, thank you to the candidates for your time and dedication. This was an excellent forum.